Welcome to the next episode of Adapt D's. That's still a working title, no matter what Dan says. A new Gatecrashers podcast segment dedicated to appreciating medium adaptations in all their many forms. My name is Amanda, and my pronouns are she, her.
I am John. My pronouns are he, him.
Hi, I'm Patrick, and my pronouns are he, him.
And today we're talking about perhaps the most perfect film for a book that has ever been made, Hulls.
Yes.
Not many can get to this level. Also, you got to go and dig those holes.
Dig those holes.
This is not going to
truly,
not be the last time.
This is the book that made me this is the book to movie adaptation that made me even want to start this series, because I just want to talk about how perfect and magnificent it is.
It's the rare case where I could say the book is better, or the movie's better, excuse me.
It's the standard. Ever since I saw this movie as a wee youngin', it set the standard of movie adaptations for me.
100%.
And quite frankly, no movie adaptation of a book has touched it.
No. In 21 years, nothing has come close to this one.
Yeah, no, it's really kind of crazy just how close it is. I mean, when I was reading the book, I realized I remembered everything because I could picture the actor saying the exact words of dialogue. It's kind of insane at how close and well done of an adaptation it is.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. So, before we jump the gun, I said we're talking about Hulls, and then I gave you absolutely no information. But really, y'all should know what we're talking about because it's ubiquitous. But anyway, we're talking about the book Hulls by Louis Sachar. We had a huge debate on
how
if
to
that
say
was
his
the
last
correct
name.
way to say his name, but Steve Schenken said it that way, and that's how I'm going to say it. Thank you, Steve Schenken. And this was published originally in 2000?
98.
98?
Yeah. Yeah, 1998.
I was looking at the wrong copyright. 98. It was originally published in Great Britain in 2000. I don't know why why do I have it?
So does that
mean...
mean...
I have a British copy?
Does that mean Ethan got it on a little boat, on a little crate passing by the rock that's known as Wales?
Guys, I fully have a UK copy.
That's very funny.
That's hilarious, actually.
I can't tell you when I would have gotten this because I really don't think I got it when we were in Roxton.
I was gonna say I don't think going into any of the
did.
I don't think going into any of the bookstores in Piccadilly Circus would have been like, yes, I want to grab a Hulls copy, thank you.
John, I think it's entirely possible that I was homesick and I walked into a Waterstones and I was like, I'm gonna read Hulls.
That's funny. That's good. Mine's brand new because my mom brought it to school and then she retired and she gave all the books to somebody. So my original copy is with a teacher somewhere.
Your original copy is somewhere in the universe.
Yeah,
I have the movie tie-in. It's downstairs. I could have gotten it because I realized it was down there, but I'm like, well, we're starting to record, so I don't have to get it because I used to work at a school, so I just spoke about this book recently, so it's still very, very fresh in my head.
Also, we're an audio medium.
Exactly.
But anyway, yeah, so if you are new to the Adaptees universe, basically, we're not here to... The ADU. We're not here to decide which was better, though we will, of course, talk about our preferences and why we feel that way. We are here to genuinely just appreciate both the original source material and its adaptations, because media is different in all forms, and I really enjoy talking about how they are good and how they are less good sometimes.
And what a choice.
I think,
because both are great.
Exactly. But I think we should each start with which one did we all start with? Like, did you see the movie? Did you read the book?
So
like, what did you do first?
I have a story with the movie, but I'll go with this. So I read the book first because I had a hard time reading as a kid, and Holes was one of the few rare books that I remember I actually was able to read front to back, and I was like, it was that, Harry Potter, Down the Road Aragon, that series, Percy Jackson, etc., and a few others. But Holes I remember being one of the first, along with Lemony Snicket. And so I wanted to read it before the movie came out, and I did. Now, in regards to the movie, I went to go see this in Virginia when I went to go visit my uncle. The reason I bring this up is because I was sheltered growing up in what I could watch as a kid. So, because of that, PG-13 action movies I was like getting better with, but PG-13 comedies my parents were still a little about. So my dad's sister, uncle, and grandparents go see Anger Management with Adam Sandler because it was out at the same time. And my mom took me to go see Holes. And from the conversation at dinner that night, I think we had the better experience. Because I never saw my grandpa so mad at something. He's like, that sucked.
That's funny.
He could not manage his anger at Anger Management?
No, he's usually a go happy, he was a very happy man.
I don't actually fully remember which I came to. I'm going to assume that I saw the movie first, only because I know for a fact that the very first copy of Holes that I owned was the movie tie-in. But that's kind of par for the course for me for 90% of adaptations. I usually end up seeing the movie or the series first, and then I'm like, I should go read the book.
Yeah, I actually read the book first because I read it before the movie was out. I think I probably read it. I mean, it was still a pretty new book. I think I read it in 2nd or 3rd grade, so it had only been a couple of years that it had been out. And it was a hot book at the time in the realm of children's lit. And as anybody knows me, I'm a big award season freak. And part of it was growing up, I love Newbery Medal winners. I read a lot of them.
Patrick!
Oh my god,
hang on.
you were that
Patrick,
kid?
this doesn't shock me the slightest that you were I will read this if it has a Newbery Medal on it.
Listen, my brain is very bad at making decisions, so I definitely needed a category of things to go tackle. So that was something that really helped. But I mean, this book's great. It's probably one of my favorite books reading it growing up. Yeah, I read it I want to say 2nd or 3rd grade, and then I saw that they were making the movie, and there were featurettes all the time on Disney Channel, so I was really excited to go
surfers.
See it. And yeah, exactly. And anyway, there was one occasionally on Fridays, once a month or so, my dad would take me and my sisters to go out and see movies. And, I was like, oh, Holes is a movie. Let's go. That just came out. I read the book. I want to see it. Let's go see it. So I suggested it. We all decided to go see it. It turns out it was opening night.
Oh my God.
The theater was packed. They somehow sold us tickets, even though there weren't enough seats in the theater. So I fully sat on the stairs.
Was that something that theaters could do?
Listen, it was 2003.
It was 2003.
It was a wild
even
time.
in 2003, you'd think post, 2 years after 9/11.
I don't know. It was the Bush administration. It was a wild time.
It was the Bush administration.
But I sat on the stairs of the theater and watched it. Did
you have to deal
11.
with people walking around you
I think we were pretty high up, so it wasn't that bad. And also, I don't think a lot of people got up because it's it's an engaging movie all the way through for the full 2 hours, so it's no, but I did. I watched it sitting on stairs, which now, being 30 years old and my entire body hurts, I can't even imagine doing that for a full movie, but
and yet it just kind of feels right.
It does.
It doesn't necessarily surprise me.
And it was great.
I don't think I saw it in a theater. I have very my memory of how things happen is consistently colored by me reading too much fan fiction, so I sometimes confuse. I had to go back and reread the book exclusively because I was like, okay, did these things happen actually, or did I assume that they happened because I read it in a fanfic?
Fair enough.
I made up an entire plot point of Full Metal Alchemist because of fanfic.
Yeah, didn't you realize that when I was watching it?
Yes, I did.
Awkward. Amazing.
I made up an entire plot point, so
original or Brotherhood?
It was a real concern.
Okay.
Brotherhood. I was watching Brotherhood.
Brotherhood.
Yeah,
I haven't watched either. That's why I was like, wait, which one? Because it's like I haven't seen one of them.
It was a real concern. But yeah, so holes for anybody who doesn't know, and if you don't know, thank you for listening to a podcast about it, I guess. Very grateful you're here. Basically, it's this story about this really unlucky kid who gets implicated in a crime and then sent to Camp Green Lake. And it's advertised to him as this, like, wondrous summer camp where he's going to reform and, like, come back and not be a criminal anymore. And instead, he ends up in the middle of a desert, and he is forced to dig a hole every single day.
And there's what was it Mr. Sir said, where it was like taking a hole turns him into a good boy or something?
Yeah. you make a bad boy dig a hole,
I just
he
think
turns into a
every time
good
you
boy.
said bad luck, I just thought, yes, because of his no good, dirty, rotten, pig-stealing great-great-grandfather.
Great-great-grandfather. But yeah, speaking of his
dirty, rotten,
no
pig-stealing
good, dirty, rotten,
great-great-grandfather.
pig-stealing great-great-grandfather, there are two subplots that are, like, woven throughout the book, and one of them follows
the Yelnats family history.
The Yelnats family, and his descendant, and or his ancestor, and the other one follows Kissing Kate Barlow, aka Patricia Arquette, and her love for Sam, aka
Dulé
Hill.
Hill. From Psych.
And this brings me to my first point. Why was this cast so fucking
Not only that,
stacked?
why was this cast so fucking perfect?
That too.
Because this is about as close to the characters that you're ever gonna fucking get. Like, I just read that Disney might be considering doing this as a TV show, and I'm like, should you though? No!
Boo! First of all, don't fucking do that because I've already recorded this episode. Second of all, don't fucking do that because why must we continue to mess with perfection?
Really?
Yeah.
Like, truly, the only things that are different about the adaptation are so cosmetic.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people, I know a lot of people get, like, really upset about the fact that the person that they cast for Stanley wasn't fat, but, like, they had a very clear reason for why they didn't do that. And it was because they could not cast a fat actor to then rapidly lose weight in the way that Stanley does in the book. Like, that is literally unhealthy.
Also, yeah.
They're not going to make a 15-year-old
and
pull
also,
a Christian
like,
Bale.
Shia LaBeouf, like, again, not Shia LaBeouf today aside, Shia LaBeouf at the time had that Stanley Yelnats vibe to him. Which,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, I know a lot of other criticism is that, like, well, Stanley is supposed to have been perceived as a bully, and he's supposed to have been,
a
like,
bad kid.
You know, having a terrible time in school. And I'm like, listen, in the 5 seconds of screen time that you get of Stanley's backstory, you're like, this kid's having a bad time anyway.
Do you know who... Okay, do you guys know who they originally wanted to cast for this role?
For Stanley?
Yes,
Frankie
but he
Muniz.
could not because he was filming the other 2003 seminal childhood classic, Agent Cody Banks.
Of course, naturally.
And we couldn't take Agent Cody Banks from the universe, and so instead, we got the most amazing performance.
Not even
Shia LaBeouf.
just him. Everyone in
rest
this
in
cast.
peace.
Even the people who were like... clearly the kids who haven't acted before, who were like, you know, the other Camp Green Lake kids. They're so good.
The credits to this movie say introducing Shia LaBeouf. This wasn't his first.
No, it was his first movie,
credit,
though.
Was it? It was his first movie.
Yeah, he'd already done, it was already in Even Stevens.
Yeah, I couldn't remember in what order it was. And so when I saw introducing Shia LaBeouf, I was really confused because I was like, don't you look much younger in Even Stevens? I'm confused.
Yeah. Well, even then, like, this was his first movie role, but he was also, one of the things I really like is he was the biggest name for the kids. Everybody else were like basically, they might have had some minor roles, but like they were really, this was like their biggest casting so far, which I really like. But then also on the other side of it, you have, just massive
Every
names.
single adult character is a fucking
Henry
giant.
Winkler.
What the fuck do you mean Sigourney Weaver is in this movie?
The legend, Yzma herself, Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt, baby.
You got Jon Voight. You got Tim Blake Nelson, Sigourney Weaver, Patricia Arquette, Dulé Hill. Come on.
Yeah, and I do actually, I might have fully made this up in my mind, but I remember reading about when this came out, or just after it came out, that they didn't ask, I'm sure they asked Sigourney Weaver, but like there was Sigourney Weaver wanted to make this movie. It wasn't just like, here's a job and like go and do it. Sigourney Weaver's daughter read the book, and as soon as they heard that they were making the movie, she told her mom, "You've got to be in this movie. You've got to be the warden. You'd be perfect for it." And I think it really like says a lot about this movie, because it's like people who knew the material were like, this is who it's got to be. This is going to be perfect. And we got. I love Sigourney Weaver in anything she's in. This is honestly one of my favorite performances from her. She's so good in this.
You know what it is? It's the kind of, she presents herself, even as though she's the warden, she presents herself with this sort of like affable, down-to-earth nature. But then she says, "Excuse me." And once you hear those two words, you're like, uh-oh.
Oh my God.
You feel it in your soul.
I think it's... What I really, really like, and like this is really only something that I thought of like literally right now, is the two polar opposite ends of like femininity that they got casting Patricia Arquette and Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, one of them literally turns into a bandit that murders people. Like, she said, "You
Justice
murdered my
Gus.
boyfriend, and so I
Justice
will murder the
Gus.
world."
Justice for Sam, what am I saying, Gus? I'm thinking of Psych. But, oh my God, wait, I just had it in my head. Something about, I can't remember it now, so it's gone, but I'll probably remember it if we come back to it, but.
It'll come back.
Yeah, but what's really cool about with Patricia Arquette and Sigourney Weaver is that they are different types of femininity, but also that, like the lipstick for Kissing Kate and the nail polish for the warden being so important to kind of who they are, helps define them as characters. And it really is a really interesting look into, parallel and look into different types of femininity. And, especially and it was like a good time, early 2000s were a good time for kind of some of these kind of movies. And I think this is really on the list of things like, Legally Blonde and all that are fun classics that also really explore womanhood in a specific way.
And like, I think one of the things, like, cause even though I came to the movie first, like the book I maintain is my favorite book ever
up there
in life. I just think that the author does such an incredible job interweaving all of the different plots that are happening. And I think it's insane that they translated it so well to
Well, thank God they got him to write it.
And like, yeah, obviously part of that is a testament to the fact that like Louis Sachar wrote the screenplay for the movie, but we also know that that doesn't always mean that you are guaranteed a banger.
But I read somewhere that like he and a director like storyboarded the whole movie out, like planned everything.
Yeah, because like Patrick was saying earlier, like fully pulling quotes from the dialogue,
I can fix that.
like going beat by beat. There are so few things that actually changed. Like one of the things that changed was Stanley, after he had dug out the lipstick and said it was from a different hole. The hole he dug it out of, he had put a rock next to it, and that's not in the book. When Stanley comes back looking for that hole, he just somehow magically finds it.
Yeah, he just somehow remembers, I dug there.
Yeah. It talks about him being trying to memorize it from the beginning because he knew it was important to remember.
Yeah, like in the movie, he very specifically puts the rock and he goes back looking for that rock. But that's not how it happens in the book. And another thing that's like very deeply personal to me that in my searching, almost nobody actually talks about it being different is the song that Stanley sings. Yes, it is different than in the book. So in the movie, he's singing, if only a woodpecker sighs, the bark on the tree was as soft as the skies. As the wolf waits below, hungry and lonely, he cries to the moon, if only, if only. But what he says in the book is, damn it. Oh yeah, I found it. What he says in the book is, if only the woodpecker sighs, the bark on the tree was just a little bit softer. And then the rest of it is the same, but like, my guy, why did you write it like that originally?
I don't think Louis Sachar was expecting this to be like, I'm gonna make this into a movie, and it's gonna star Jon Voight.
But like that, but like it don't rhyme, my guy. And I just think it's really interesting that something so small that has plagued me, honestly, my entire life, because when I read it, see, that's how I know I read it after I watched the movie, because when I read it, I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
That's not what it's supposed to be.
I do think it's really interesting, because I think the reason that it doesn't rhyme and stuff is because his wife, Elya's wife, his great-great-grandfather, the one from Latvia, like, asked, hey, what's this song mean? And he does like a direct translation from Latvian so it wouldn't rhyme. And I think that's really cool because, so many, especially stuff for kids, so many things will kind of ignore things like language barrier and that kind of thing because it's just like, we just pretend like everybody's speaking English because it's too complicated. And he was willing to be like, no, like this doesn't sound super lyrical or melodic or poetic because it's not in English. It's not an English song. It's a Latvian song. So I think that's really cool because I remember reading that too and be like, that's not how that goes.
Also,
sir, I'm ass at languages. Don't talk to me about language. Also, I just realized,
speaking of that scene, the guy who wants the fat pig is the producer for Borat.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. I didn't even think about that.
What is this movie's resume?
Well, hang on. We also get to the debut of Cleo Thomas.
That too.
What a firecracker of a debut.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, perfect. I can't think of. I know other
Bow
people
Wow and Lil Romeo.
See, listen. But of that list, of the list of actors that, like, were also considered, the only one I would have accepted was Taj Mowry.
Yeah.
Don't put Bow Wow and Lil Romeo in here. What is wrong with you?
We absolutely would have gotten, like, some different kind of hip-hop song where it would have been, like, Bow Wow featuring D-Tent Boys.
Oh, yeah.
And instead, for sure, we get the most wholesome little backyard freestyle I've ever seen.
We're gonna get into that song in a bit. I don't want to get to the movie before we get to that song at the end.
It's just so good. But back to me being annoying about the Latvian song, because there is a second verse to the song, which they don't actually explore in the movie, and so they do not change it, which is fine because I think the second verse is a banger and actually rhymes. And it's if only the moon speaks no reply, reflecting the sun and all that's gone by. Be strong, my weary wolf, turn around boldly, by Hi, My Baby Bird, My Angel, My Only. And that's the last line of the book, bro! I love that song. It lived in my head rent-free, and is also
I was gonna say,
the
indie rock version of that song rules.
Oh,
the incredible.
The indie rock version of that song also lives in my head rent-free. Like, I
put
like
the soundtrack on Spotify,
it, but
please. You can't find it on there.
When I briefly forgot about it, but when I watched the movie the other day, I was like, I feel like I have been transported to my 10-year-old
It's
body.
a comfort movie, is what it is. It's truly a comfort movie.
I love it so much.
Yeah, it's really... I have a lot of good memories, not just of reading the book, seeing the movie, but just like... It's, you know, they played those clips like on Disney Channel, all that stuff like all the time. And I was never mad about it. So, you know, it was always great when it came on. And it's just kind of like a more innocent time because I was a child. And yeah, just having, you know, it was just like there in the back. It was like the soundtrack of being
10,
being 11.
Flashing back to that time in 2003 where like it wasn't hard with life.
Yeah.
Which is life wasn't hard at some point. I can't relate. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I mean,
but like on top of the fact that it's just kind of like by textual evidence a perfect adaptation, I also think it's just like a really good, if not like elevated representation of the actual story that it's telling, because I do kind of remember, and I kind of feel like while reading the book, it feels slightly heavier than the movie is. Like, the movie really brings a much more joyful tone to it. And I think that, I feel
even
like...
with the sad dramatic parts, like someone getting shot on a boat.
Yeah. But, even with those, in the book, like, it does obviously, like, tackle a lot of really sensitive topics, like incarceration in the first place, but like wrongful incarceration, the really shitty incarceration system,
interracial,
and like
interracial
racism,
relationships.
Interracial relationships and racism, and like the consequences of that, and also, you know, like a lot of stuff about poverty,
homelessness.
A lot of things about houselessness. There's just so many really intense themes that I do feel like were done justice in the book. And like, at no point in the book did I feel like it was bogged down by these themes, but I do think that the movie takes them and translates them in a way that you're still able to laugh around it.
Like, it doesn't feel like they never tried to talk down to their audience. It feels like it's like, no, this is what's happening. It's not great, but this is what is happening in the middle of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, at no point were they like, they killed Sam because they're racist. It's like...
It's pretty implied.
Obvious.
Like, no,
like,
they killed him because,
you know why.
Like, you saw the one guy who saw them kissing, and he was, like, mad, butthurt about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, another thing that they did actually change is that Kate was actually in the book in the boat with Sam.
Oh, that's right.
When they shot him.
Yeah. But the staging in the movie is...
The staging of the movie is so fucked. I cried again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
It is... That storyline alone, that is the reason why I love this book so much.
Know in the book the connection between the warden and her grandfather as to who he is? Okay, we did.
Yeah.
That was the one part I couldn't remember, where I'm like, I remember...
It was just revealed, like, late, like, it was just revealed much later, because I think, like, in the movie, you get it pretty quickly. Like, it's like, once you see Patricia Arquette and you see Dulé Hill, you're like, This has something to do with Sigourney Weaver.
And also, if you're a kid listening to this and you were on TikTok at the time, this is the sound from TikTok you know pretty well.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa!
Yeah, I was watching.
But
It with Justin, my fiance, and he forgot that was from Holes.
It's like an iconic part.
So it happened. Because obviously, the sound, but I don't think he had seen it for, probably like 15 years at that point. So it was like a little surprise there at the end, because it is all over TikTok.
Now it's just gonna be in my head. Just tiny little Sigourney Weaver. I'm tired.
I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm gonna ruin it. I'm sorry, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Now I will.
But yeah, I like with the I do think it's a really accurate representation of the themes and like not just like a literal adaptation of the plot beat by beat, but like of what it was trying to say.
I think also,
but they made it.
I also
funnier.
think what works well is that besides of all these themes being included in the movie, it's just a good adventure, like treasure hunt movie.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah!
Like honestly, like you get the sense, oh, there's this mystery, sure, and the characters are already so likable to begin with. Even the villains, who are like, yeah, they're the villains. You can clearly tell they're bad people, but they're really funny at being bad.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. They Louis wrote them as the kind of bad that is just ubiquitous in adult caregivers specifically. Like everybody has, the Sigourney, like the warden, where she's on your side and she will be your best friend until you piss her off.
And then you have her comically
and everybody has
okay, continue, I'm sorry.
And everybody has Mr. Pendansky, who's like so like trying to like make you better and really helping you get the best out of everything, except like he doesn't actually care about you. He's only doing that because it's his job.
I was gonna say,
yeah, and it has to be the way he thinks is better.
Yeah, he wants you to be good in the way that he thinks you should be.
You say
good.
Everyone has a Mr. Pendansky the way we're. Does everyone have a Mr. Sir?
Everybody has a Mr. Sir, because if you are just observing his behavior and it is not happening at you, it's funny.
Once upon a time, there was a place where it never rained. The end.
Because, like,
that line makes me laugh so hard.
His introduction, it's fully just like he has this new kid. Clearly he's running a camp in the middle of the desert, and nobody's gonna be happy about that. Like, I understand why he is cranky. And then the first thing he does is offer the security guard a Coke.
Oh, yeah.
And Stanley thinks it's for him. And that's hilarious and relatable.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, every child has been in that situation.
Absolutely.
Where it's like, oh, you're only being nice because there's an adult in the room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's, yeah. A lot of experience.
Oh, you know what, though? I'm reminding of Mr. Sir in the opening, and you were talking about the changes to the book. Was the opening of the movie, like, it was only talked about in the book?
Yeah, the opening of the movie is... The way they open in general is different because, like, the opening of the book is talking about Camp Green Lake, and it's talking about...
What it is.
What is at Camp Green Lake. It's talking about the yellow-spotted lizards. But then, like, immediately in the third chapter on, like, the 6th page, Stanley is on the bus on the way to Camp Green Lake. And it does spend, not, like, a lot of time, but it does spend a little bit of time talking about how... he did it like school, and, how he got made fun of for being fat, but everybody thought he was a bully. And it gives a lot of background about, like, I'm here because of my no good, dirty, rotten, pig-stealing great-great-grandfather. But then it also talks about kissing Kate Barlow. Like, you get kissing Kate Barlow immediately.
Yeah.
You just don't know who she is or why she's important.
Yeah.
The beginning of the movie is basically like a montage.
No, the beginning of
a cut together montage of the first few
the beginning
chapters.
I'm talking about is with Barf Bag and the rattlesnake.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which we don't, obviously, is in the book. We just know Barf Bag's gone. I don't know. I don't think they ever tell us.
They just said he's still in the hospital.
Yeah.
Because I remember that part was in the book, but it was like only briefly talked about. Here in the movie, you actually see like, nah, this sucks. So one had to go before one gets replaced.
Yeah, I think that was a smart call.
Yeah.
Because it sets the tone immediately of what the camp is.
Yeah.
And since it sets that tone immediately, they're like, and now we can tell some jokes.
And now we can do some yucks about shoes falling on a kid.
No, one of the other changes I just remembered did happen is they changed the scenes order for when Stanley finds the fossil and the fight in the rec room. Because they happen in the opposite order in the book. In the book, they have the fight in the rec room, and they start calling him Caveman, and then he finds the fossil. And I like it, and when it's the other way, where he finds the fossil first, and then has to find the rec room, and that's when they start calling him Caveman. Caveman just makes so much more sense as a name, because he found the fossil, you know?
Yeah.
God. Just check out the tag, the name is Caveman, you know? Like... But like other than like those small, like there's some changes. This is pretty much almost like a 1-to-1.
Yeah, because even some of the other like changes are that some of the, like things like internal monologue is said out loud because it's a movie and we're not getting there's no internal monologue narration really, and it's like sometimes like Mr. Sir or Dr. Pendanski says like some of the description of the camp or whatever out loud. Like that we got, because obviously that's got to be said out loud. But like if those are the big changes you're making, you've done a pretty faithful adaptation.
Yeah, and John, I think you found a fun fact about how this was originally. This was going to be
a
written.
Very different movie.
Remember when we said it was like funny and lighthearted? It was not going
the original
to be that.
person hired to write this movie was not the author. They decided to get Richard Kelly. You might be thinking, dear listener, who's Richard Kelly? You ever see Donnie Darko with Jake Gyllenhaal and the fucked up bunny rabbit? That movie, he was going to write Holes, and it was going to be a post-apocalyptic take with sci-fi elements. Stanley was going to be sent to Camp Greenleg for mercy killing his sister due to radiation poisoning. Armpit, Squid, and X-Ray were going to be killed off. Kissing Kate and Sam were not going to be in the story at all. Zero implied to have killed somebody. Pendanski being a secret government agent. And instead of finding a treasure chest, we are finding a hammer-like weapon that could shoot electric bullets.
So basically, not the book and an entire story... different story entirely.
Holes in name.
Yeah, basically, he wanted to do what every other fucker is doing with an adaptation these days, and just doing whatever the fuck they wanted.
As like if somebody went and saw Blade Runner, expecting it to be the book Blade Runner, when actually it's
not that.
I Dream of Electric Sheep.
Apparently, I read this. The production office who saw the script reportedly called him, and I quote, insane, as they should. And they thought, this is too dark for children, which, no shit. But apparently, he took a bunch of these ideas and put them into the movie Southland Tales, which I have never seen, but I heard is fucking also insane.
I just don't understand. Why would you do that?
Yeah, especially because...
What is the point? What is the end game? What are you getting out of this?
What's the point of Stanley being sent to Camp Green Lake? Not for stealing shoes, for mercy killing.
Yeah, he's guilty then. Like he killed a person.
That's murder. I don't care if it's, assisted suicide, euthanasia. I don't care if that's legal. That's a slightly more valid reason to send someone to a juvenile correctional facility than getting smacked on the noggin with some shoes.
I saw wrong place, wrong time. And on the other end, my sister has radiation poisoning. Guess I'm gonna commit some murder.
Yeah, especially because, I mean, it's already, like we already talked about it, the themes in the book are already pretty heavy, Like, and then it's just like, oh, let's make it grimdark.
It's like he read the paragraph about the yellow-spotted lizards, and he said that, but make it radiation.
It's like, and not even that, the hammer-like weapon that can shoot electric bullets. Why do I get the stupid feeling they're like, oh, you ever heard the legend of Kate Barlow, the rebel leader?
Also, like, what the fuck is a hammer-like weapon that can shoot electric bullets? Why not just a gun?
You know what that sounds like? Mjolnir. You know what doesn't make sense in that context at all?
No, putting in Norse mythology into a story about I'm digging some holes?
Turning a story that takes place at camp.
Also, you're killing off
desert?
like three of your biggest characters. Arpit, Squid, and X-Ray were all supposed to fucking bite it.
And also, you're axing the main emotional crux of the story?
And then also, Zero implied to have killed someone. So, were you going to have this small child be like, I'm a mass murderer, I shot 10 people?
Like, listen, my guy. Zero already whacks Mr. Pendanski in the face with a shovel. I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Iconic.
Amazing. Iconic. Oh, another small difference. In the book, Stanley originally says that he can't teach Zero how to read because he's too tired. In the movie, Stanley says, sure, pretty much immediately. And it's only after he says yes that he's like, damn, I'm so tired. And Zero's like, let me dig a hole for you. Because Zero actually offers to dig his hole immediately instead of having that be like, oh, thank you for teaching me, I'll dig your hole.
Yeah.
But that...
but their relationship...
I'm sorry, to end it really quick, that original take was fucking dumb. That was a terrible idea.
Yeah, please don't Darnie Docify my middle grade novel. Thank you. But yeah, Zero and Stanley's relationship just makes me so warm and fuzzy inside.
I'm gonna put this...
Oh, yeah.
I remember like when everything kind of like came together and you were like, oh shit, Zero is Madame Zeroni's great-great-great-grandson. And Elia Yelnats' great-great-grandson is bringing him up the mountain, and they broke the fucking curse.
Yeah. And
I cried.
Oh yeah, it's so good. And it's also like it's a great twist because like 10-year-old me did not pick up that their last names were the same.
like the backwards?
Did not get...
Wait, you didn't pick up on the Yelnats?
No, that Hector Zeroni, Madame Zeroni, it was a fun, like, it was like, oh my god, he broke the curse because it took me,
they make a big deal of it, like, it's Hector.
Related.
Hector Zeroni.
Yeah. No, in the movie, I'm talking about, like, in the book. I was like, I'm not great at remembering details, it's probably a big part of it, but, I was like, when I got to that part of the book, I was like, oh my god, he did it. He did it, generations later, and it was, like, this huge... great thing because I was like, oh, I get it. I made the connection.
Oh, and Henry Winkler in the book was not developing a cure for foot odor. He was developing, I think, a better way to recycle shoes and develop the foot odor thing by accident.
Yes.
I mean, it was still an accident in the movie, but That wasn't the goal.
Yeah.
But I think making it the foot odor thing in the movie just like adds on to the like, it's a gag. Let's just keep doing it. It's funny.
I like the bit at the end where they're like, I don't smell anything. I don't smell anything.
I don't smell anything.
Yeah, I'm putting a couple photos of like, they got, like, I mentioned this out before we started. They got the cast together years later for like a 20th anniversary screening, and I got some of the cast, so I just put it in the, in our Slack, yeah.
In our Slack?
With a director.
Amazing.
Oh my god!
It's Armpit, Magnet, Zero, Stanley, Mr. Sir, and the director.
Oh,
amazing.
It makes me so happy. I love them. I love this book, and I love this movie, and I love this book turning into this movie, because, like, you leave so many, like, book adaptations, or just like,
wait till I talk about Percy Jackson,
or like video game adaptations. Like, you leave so many adaptations of some of your favorite media, like, truly disappointed sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, I love. Before I'll continue, please. I'm sorry.
And it's just, I just think it's so wonderful to be able to like have this, and because we all know I'm the kind of human where I'm like, listen, if it entertained me, it was good. Like, am I going to be a little disappointed if they don't faithfully adapt something? Sure. Yeah, a little bit. But, like, if I had a good time, then we had a good time, and it's fine. But to be able to be like, it was perfect in every single way!
Yeah. You know what was also perfect, before we get to, like, what we like more and everything? This film's soundtrack, though.
Oh, like, my goodness.
Like, okay, we've talked about the song, we've danced around it enough. The end credits song fucking rules.
Oh yeah.
I want to know what the like impetus of that was. Like, did y'all plan this? Like, was this a plan from the get-go, or were the kids just being little weirdos?
Speaking of them being little weirdos, before I go back to the soundtrack, if you have the DVD, the audio commentary where it's just the D10 boys is one of the most entertaining things I've ever listened to.
It's absolutely adorable. I love it.
But anyway, yeah, so let me go. I definitely know there was a story about the how that song came about, because I think they got like some big time producer to help produce it or something like that.
Yeah, it was Dr. Dre.
No, it wasn't.
That produced it. Yeah, it was. It says Dr. Dre and Mike Elizondo produced Dig It by the D10 Boys.
That's hilarious, actually. That's actually kind of incredible if it's Dr. Dre. But yeah, not only that, you had Shaggy, you had Eels, you had Moby, you had Eagle-Eyed Cherry, Fiction Plane.
Yeah, kept
just if you want the greatest way to introduce indie rock and like all these other kind of alternative artists to
Fiction
to
Plane.
A young child, this is how you do it.
Yeah, well, and even like Dig It probably was the first, like, you know, hip-hop-ish track that I regularly listened to, you know.
I listened to them before, really, but yes, I know what you're saying.
That's because you were sheltered and religious and white.
Yeah, obviously. But, you know, yeah, my parents weren't playing rap music, that's for sure. But, you know, it definitely, you know, I think there's a bunch of people probably that, like, this soundtrack probably introduced them to a lot of different genres that they now listen to regularly and love, you know, listen to as part of their own soundtracks.
I mean, yeah, Fiction Plane, like the song by Fiction, the If Only adaptation by Fiction Plane is probably what made my little brain go, oh, you like dad rock.
Yeah.
So apparently, I just want to point out, on the hour-long bus rides to set, the cast members were making made-up raps about their characters, and it got to Andrew Davis, and they were just doing some stuff, and they were like, each of them in the trailer, and so he reached out to a music producer, and they're like, I want to do a No Diggity type song, but call it Dig It. So literally,
amazing.
And it was Doug, it wasn't Dr. Dre, it was Dougie Fresh. But it was just like, they were just messing around in the back of the bus, just making up raps. Like, what was it? I think Shia said, one of Shia's raps when he was on the bus would just be like, the yellow-spotted lizard is cooler than a blizzard.
I think the fact that it happened so organically is really, like, that. I think that's why it has the charm that it does, because it's like, they were just having fun. They were having a good time. They became really good friends.
And I think that translates into the rest of the movie, too.
It does.
It's like, because, like, some of my favorite movies are the ones where it's very clear that, like, the actors are having fun.
Like, the end of the movie where the rain comes down onto Camp Green Lake, and, like, they're losing their minds, they're dancing in the rain, and then, like, X-Ray and Stanley give each other, like, the biggest hug. They're like, be careful out there.
They're not as nice out there as we are.
Like, you can just tell, like, yeah, it's a brotherhood right there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, especially, like, you know, they were, like, we're at the right age.
Especially with, like, how fucked, like, the situation they were in was. Like, yeah, some of them may have been put in the correctional facility because, like, they really needed the help to, like, reroute their lives, but they were put into something that was not legitimate. They weren't being helped.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I did
so
like at the end, though, where this warden's trying her best to, like, get Stanley to open the treasure. He's like, excuse me? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
That was the first time I realized, like, 10-year-old me was like, oh, this makes my brain go tickle. This is good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
great moment. Really,
I love the scene at the end where we see okay, in the book, there's another change. We know, like, oh, he reached out and he hired his mom, but you actually see him, reunite with his mom.
Yeah, because you don't get their reuniting scene. You just have them at the end together,
which I think is much sweeter in the movie than the book.
Yeah, to be able to, like, see it happen. And actually, the now you be careful out in the real world, not everybody is as nice as us. In the book, Armpit says that.
Oh, really?
Not X-Ray. Yeah, I think it's really interesting and, like, really poignant that they changed it to X-Ray instead because of X-Ray's sort of, like, leadership of detent. Because he had been there the longest. He's at the front of the waterline. He's the one who told Stanley, like, if you find something, you give it to me.
Yeah.
And so I think it was a really good change to make because it kind of, like, brings that full circle.
Yeah, it definitely does. I also think part of it, too, though, is that Armpit in the movie is much more of a sweet little goober than he is in the book. Because he's kind of a bully in the book when Stanley first shows up.
They've not, like, Theodore.
Right from the beginning.
It's Armpit.
Yeah, right from the beginning, you're like, oh, you're just you're a
little cranky.
Yeah, you're a little cranky, but also, like, especially when he's looking at the faucet and goes, oh, look, it's a little fishy.
Yeah.
Immediately.
And they do, I'm just in that whole scene again now in the book, but so in the movie, Armpit asks Stanley to call his mom. That's actually Squid in the book.
Oh, that's right.
Which, like...
Oh, you don't get that either in the movie. The whole,
well, because how they characterize Squid in the movie, that would not have made sense.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Because, like, Squid was kind of a dickbag.
Yeah. Zigzag was just a stoner. Let's just call it what it is. Zigzag was a stoner. And then,
his Zigzag was just high.
The kid who's, like, twitching every 5 seconds.
Twitch.
Yeah, I didn't like Twitch.
Oh, you know what? I just realized we're going through all this. We should probably tell people where they can find this.
Well, yes, we were going to get to that. I promise. I promise it's in my notes.
But
since we're here already, you can find this book literally
like
everywhere.
You can go to your bookstore, go to the library.
Go to your library. Go to England, apparently. Like,
go to the local Waterstone, or was it Waterbury? Waterstone? It's Waterstones. Go to the local Waterstones and go see if the book's there.
like, it is high. I think it is extremely likely that you could probably find it in your local thrift store too. Honestly, this book has been printed millions of times.
Yeah, they still assign it in schools. You can definitely find it at most bookstores, indie or otherwise.
Go shake down a middle schooler. They'll have it.
Go bully a child and see what happens there.
Go back to your middle school English teacher's classroom. I'm sure it's there.
Yep, and the movie, it's currently Disney Plus. You could probably pirate it somewhere. The DVD still exists if you are one of those humans like us who
love physical media
DVDs.
Forever because
you have to have physical media because eventually Disney Plus is going to decide, you know what? Actually, we're going to delete holes. And
we're going to delete holes because we have the show coming out. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's where you can find these two things. Please go watch it and read it if you haven't done either of those things, because quite frankly, you're missing out.
I'm sorry to jump ahead in the thing. I wasn't sure. I'm like, should we have talked about that in the beginning?
Yeah. No, you're fine. This is kind of a crash course right now, honestly.
Yeah.
I am rearranging things as I go, which is how I teach also. But I think...
Before we do, I want to get
for us to decide. Never mind. John wants to say something. Go.
Did we get a lot of Sweet Lou in the book like we did in the movie?
Are you talking about the donkey? Which is not a donkey in the book?
Sweetfoot. I'm sorry, the baseball player.
The baseball player.
He's a baseball player.
Yeah. Clyde Livingston. Sweet Feet. That's what it is.
Sweet Feet Livingston. Because his feet is.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, do we get like a lot of him in the book compared to the movie? Because I feel like the movie we got a lot more of him.
Clyde is in the end credit scene as they're watching that end credit scene. Clyde is in the last chapter where they're all together and they're watching the commercial. I don't recall, because I don't think we had a trial scene in the book.
I think Stanley just says in passing that testified.
Clyde Livingston was at the trial.
Yeah, because he talks about how the trial was delayed a bunch. That's something that they kind of don't talk about exactly in the movie, because it is a little confusing, but like, how did Zero get there first? And in the book, it's because the trial gets delayed a bunch because Clyde Livingston was going to testify at it, but because he's a baseball player and has to go, play baseball, it's a while before he's able to get to the court. So
yeah, Clyde Livingston also came to court in spite of everything. When Stanley found out that Sweet Feet was going to be there, he was actually excited about the prospect of meeting his hero. Clyde Livingston testified that they were his sneakers and that he had donated them to help raise money for the homeless shelter. He said he couldn't imagine what kind of horrible person would steal from homeless children. So, yeah, they don't actually, because in the movie they have a scene of Stanley at the trial and, him being sentenced to go to Camp Green Lake. And in the book, it's just a couple paragraphs of, this is what happened.
And in the movie, they have him also say that he grew up at that shelter, which isn't in the book.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really good change to show that it's...
That's just a final nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
They said, fuck you, Stanley.
But anyway, now we can go on.
Now it is time, I believe, to decide which one is your favorite.
So I was saying earlier that my favorite is the movie, but because I'm basically illiterate now, I don't read books. This is probably the first book I've read in a long time. And
you didn't even finish it.
And I didn't even finish it. But that being said, I think I'm going to go with the book because honestly, this book is what radicalized me, I think. Because reading this even at 10 years old, being like, something is wrong. This is not the way that there's just this camp in the middle of nowhere. They send children to do manual labor. And for these kids that are my age, you know, a little bit older, middle schoolers, but, you know, like my age, doing this manual labor every day because there's this greedy person who's trying to find this treasure that was from somebody whose her grandfather murdered somebody because they were black. You know, I think it really was like important to me in shaping kind of where I am, like my politics and the way I feel about the world. This was really kind of the start of my radicalization. And that kind of at the same time that I was also, you know, figuring out that I was a homosexual. That same confluence of things, I think that really is what's driven me to where I am and really started a lot of the way that I am, why I'm like this.
Wow, you really said fuck you to me and John, honestly.
Sorry.
Like, how the fuck are we supposed to follow that shit?
I have no intention to. I
like the movie more. Fuck you all, I guess. I don't know.
I love the book with my whole entire heart. I walked in to my very first interview in publishing, and they said, "What is your favorite book?" And I said, "Holes" by Louis Sachar. I prefer the movie. And I prefer the movie because I am a very visual human. I retain visuals better than I do just words on a page. And so, like, I was never really that human who, like, when I read a book, I, like, see the characters in my mind. Like, I just see words. Like, my brain doesn't work that way. So to see the thing that I loved so much then be translated into a visual medium, and for me to just sit there and be able to, like, enjoy it and rewind it and enjoy it again and rewind it again in a way that didn't tax my brain, it was like elevating something that I really loved to the next level. I was like, it's a movie! I love visual mediums, and you know, some people might call that sacrilege as someone who literally works in books.
I will say on my end that I will always go, usually 9 times out of 10, I will go with the book over the movie any day of the week because you can't clearly touch the original source material. This is one of those 1 times out of 10. This, I would go with the movie in a heartbeat just because the book already is so visually, but like now because of how iconic this movie is, I think, Pat, you were saying this at the beginning, I can go back and read it and I have the movie going in my head while I'm reading it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's such a perfect adaptation that to do any more to it, I think, would be sacrilege, and also you cannot improve on perfection. Disney. It's just one of those things where you got everything right. Like, you made the book. You brought the book to a visual reality. And so,
like, you copied and pasted
and
that.
and that's a good thing. In this case, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Listen. I, again, appreciate all adaptations for what they are, because at the end of the day, they are all their own works, like, that can be divorced from the source material.
We're going to return to that statement when I do my next episode with you.
Yeah. Get over it. And actually, it's not going to be your next episode. It's going to be your last episode with me. Your next one is the social network.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget.
Uh-huh.
But what was I saying?
You like the visual medium adaptation? No, adaptations being their own thing. Each adaptation.
Adaptations are all their own thing. Thank you, sir. But no, I don't remember what I was going to say after that.
Oh, okay,
I don't remember what the next sentence was. What was the next sentence? Shit. Wait, Dan, cut out the parts where I don't remember it, but I want to remember it. Fuck. No.
You're talking about. You're talking about how adaptions, that you like adaptions because there are, as like their own thing because,
you know what? I was going to shit on Disney. I just...
You should keep that in.
I love adaptations. I think they're all their own thing, and it's really fun to just talk about them and to just enjoy them as singular forms of media. But, like, there comes a point where it's like, hey, don't touch it.
Disney.
Stop it. Don't even look at it. Don't even look at it, Disney. You have done enough.
Disney, Disney.
You have done enough.
You did a good thing.
And
don't do anymore.
And you know what? Like, as much as I love to think about how, different adaptations of the same source material are all their own things and are all valid, the fact that they copied and pasted this onto the television, that is genuinely what I want out of every adaptation of a thing.
Yeah.
If you are adapting something, copy and paste it.
Yeah. Well, I really do think it is a credit to Louis Sachar he wrote the book in a way that it is both entertaining as a book and already in the perfect position to be adapted like it was directly to the screen. And of course, the adaptation, it's credit to Louis Sachar. He wrote the screenplay, but and I think it's his only screenplay, which is kind of even crazier. But the book is already in such a great spot to be translated to the screen that it's really... If you were to tell me the movie was first and they did the book second, I'd believe you.
It had everything going for it.
Yeah, it was... Because it's already such a fantastic book, and is in such a great spot that it made a fantastic movie.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
And you know what? I'm so happy we got to talk about it. But now it's time for the honorable mentions, which we only have one. And really, it's not really an honorable mention. It's just that there's a sequel.
I've read it. I own the copy when I was a kid.
Oh, shit! John read it!
I read it at some point, but like 20 years ago.
Like, I have read it, but it is, again, so yes, Louis Sachar wrote a sequel. The sequel is not focusing on Stanley and about more treasures to find. It is about Armpit and him coming out of Camp Green Lake, trying to adjust to life on the outside.
My brain stopped listening after you said coming out. It put a period there, and I was like, wait, do I need to read it?
But anyway, he meets a pop star, and they have sort of whirlwind encounters with each other. And there's...
Honestly, Amanda, that sounds very up your alley.
And there's also ticket scalping involved.
Down with Ticketmaster.
Whoa.
Down with Ticketmaster!
Well, yes.
I honestly, it's a lot more, like, mature and more down-to-earth than Sachar's, like, other novels. Like, this is where he started getting a bit more, young adulty, I guess is the word, but, like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's not like, the Wayside School books are, like, ridiculous and silly. It's not a silly book at all. It's a lot more of a serious, mature... I would recommend it, I think.
Yeah, it's...
I mean,
it's
I also
realism.
think it's worth it to note... that, like, the bulk of Louis Sachar's, like, most well-known books did come out during a period of time where, like, YA didn't actually exist as, like, a category in bookstores. So I can understand the
However, the reason why no one's heard of it is because this was the book he wrote after Holes.
The sun shined too bright, bro. It eclipsed everything else.
This was the book he was like, I'm going to take a while off. I worked on the movie. I'm going to make another book, and it's this one.
They said, sir, you wrote Holes. You didn't need to write anything else.
But he has kept writing stuff. He had, I think his most recent book was from 2020.
Yeah.
So
he did another Wayside School in 2020. He's also wrote in a couple of more. He writes a lot more young adult books these days. Like he has The Card Turner was one called Fuzzy Mud, which is a I feel like it's...
Oh,
I haven't read that
Fuzzy
one
Bud.
yet, but it's like a lot more... Yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I mean. The fact that he kind of transitioned a little bit into that like YA space, but not like actually YA, because it's really like upper middle grade, like younger YA. So Barnes and Noble is like, where do I put this? Where do you want me to put this? And then everybody just shrugs, and then you can't find the book.
Honestly, the way it reads, you're like, what would you classify this as? Because it's not an adventure like Holes. It's just a drama. It's a teen, like young adult drama.
Listen, Louis Sachar can do whatever he wants because he gave me Holes. I hope every side of your pillow is cool. I hope you never burn your tongue on your coffee. Thank you for this gift.
Thank you for writing the book. Thank you for writing the screenplay. Thank you for cameoing in the movie.
Thank
and he
you.
is in the movie. He's one of the people Sam sells his onion juice.
Yeah, he's the bald man, isn't he? He's a bald guy. Thank you for setting the standard for Book to Moody adaptations. This has been Amanda, John, and Patrick on Adaptees.
I think that's just a...
which is still a working title.
I think it's the title now at this point. Like,
I think that's just the bit.
You know what? It's going to be the last episode you do, and you're like, I still don't have a title.
Oh my god, Dan. Dan, this is directly to you. What if we have Jake or Ethan do our Lemony Snicket interstitials and have them say Adaptees in the dramatic
in
accent?
A very serious, dramatic reading of those phrase, Adaptees.
Think about it. The juxtaposition. Amanda really wanted an entire season just dedicated to the comparative analysis of originals and their adaptations, and it's called Adaptees. Anyway, we're gonna stop recording now. Thanks, Dan. Love you.
Bye. That's the most chaotic way we could have ended this episode. Jesus.
Just a big, big Christmas.